Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, Neurodivergent. My name's Jen, and on this channel I make content about being a female diagnosed with autism and ADHD. Today I want to talk about the difficulty autistics face with giving and receiving gifts. It might seem like we're ungrateful, impossible to shop for, or selfish in forgetting to give gifts ourselves. So stay tuned to find out why this is. All right, it's almost Christmas time, so here I am doing my obligatory Christmas video. I was told by my boss I'd get fired if I didn't do one, so here we are. Don't fire me, okay? Since Christmas is only a few days away from the date of me publishing this video, chances are that by the time you're watching this, the Christmas season will be over. But stick around, because gift giving obviously isn't relegated to just Christmas. There are tons of events year-round that involve gift giving, like birthdays, graduations, anniversaries, and so on. So this video will be relevant whenever you're watching it. Now, I didn't want to do another holiday survival guide because there are already a lot of lovely autistic content creators out there who have created some awesome ones that you can go and check out. Instead, I wanted to do something a little bit different by honing in on the specific topic of gift giving, because there's actually a lot to explore here. We can be very particular about items. We struggle with the change new items bring into our lives. We face delayed emotional processing. We might find gift exchanges pointless, and we have difficulty identifying what we want or need when people ask us. And let's not forget the masking required to open up gifts to avoid the perception of disappointment. Basically, we kind of ride the struggle bus in the gift giving and receiving department overall, so let's get into it. We'll start with how difficult it is for us to provide an answer whenever someone asks us what we want, and I think this has two parts to it. For one, I think this kind of rhymes with the alexithymia many of us face. Alexithymia means an individual has trouble identifying or labeling their own emotions, and along these lines, there seems to be this gray zone we live in where we can't identify our own needs or wants in a way that translates into material possessions. Secondly, is because we can be very particular about items, and because of that, trying to pick out a gift for that autistic person in your life can seem like mission impossible. And I want to give you an example of how this presents in my own life. I tend to have a minimalist mindset. Now, you probably wouldn't think that if you were to walk into my home, because I don't live in a tiny house with one skillet and a single fork that doubles as my hairbrush. But it is a mindset, I feel like, because having too many things stresses me out. It feels like having this smothering dead weight all over my house. I prefer things that are utilitarian in nature, that I'll get a lot of use out of, or consumables that will get used up and no longer exist. I sometimes think about what a weird world we live in, that we have all these decorative things in our homes that serve no purpose. I've been made fun of by several of my friends for my lack of things, like not having nightstands next to my bed for the longest time, but do I have decorative things around my home? Yes, and I'm happy to report that I now have 2 matching nightstands on each side of my bed. But if I could just live in a smaller home with that one fork and skillet, I'd probably have a little less stress about having so many things. So if having too many things stresses me out to begin with, asking me to consider what additional things I'd like to add to that mess can be hard. Now, don't get me wrong, having a minimalist mindset doesn't mean you never want anything. New items can and do bring me joy. I'm not black and white in this area. I'm just saying this is one element. But in addition to this, I also have a strong desire to ensure my money is spent in a way that brings value to my life. This doesn't mean I'm a penny pincher. It just means I strongly evaluate the value of its exchange. I not only put a lot of weight into how my monetary resources are used, but even the monetary resources of others if they're spending it on me. So when you combine these two things, you can imagine how it makes me overanalyze the meaningful role new items will play in my life. Think of it like the phrase form, fit, and function that is often used in the manufacturing and engineering world. Form, meaning the shape, size, dimensions, mass, or weight. Fit, meaning the ability of a part to physically interface, connect, or become an integral part of another part. And Function, the action or actions that part is designed to form. Yeah, we all become nerdy little engineers because we overanalyze the form, fit, and function of new objects that come into our lives. I personally have to think about the value and desirability of an object for so long that they could sit in my Amazon wish list for months or even years before I commit to purchasing them. And again, while these are a few of the reasons I personally struggle with this, I only share my own personal anecdotes to show you one of the possible ways that autistic person in your life might struggle to answer that dreaded "what do you want?" question. For whatever reason, we often tend to overthink things like this to an unnecessary degree. Next, let's look at the difficulty we have in receiving gifts. And this one might seem a little confusing because all we have to do is sit there and receive the thing, right? Well, let me tell you, we have a way of making this simple thing complicated too. For starters, this is yet another area that requires masking, because the reaction on our face might disappoint or confuse the gift giver. For those of us who normally have a flat affect, we might come across as not liking what we just received, even if we actually really do like it. We feel put on stage, which makes us nervous and anxious because the person giving us the gift is eagerly awaiting our excited reaction. So we might find we have to exaggerate our facial expressions or verbal overtures because our face just doesn't show the excitement naturally, regardless of how we actually feel about the gift itself. Story time. Let me tell you about the anxiety I felt when all of my coworkers threw me a baby shower. We all gathered in the conference room and the entire office stared at me as I opened up their gifts, just waiting for my reaction. I was the center of attention and I hated it. I felt so much pressure and discomfort. I felt like I had to put on a show. It was something that stuck with me for years, and once again, now I know why that was so hard for me. The second big piece to the difficulty we face in receiving gifts is delayed processing. Oftentimes we experience anxiety with change, no matter how big or small, and believe it or not, that anxiety can exist even for changes that are good. In one of my earlier videos where I talked about my sensory sensitivities and need for routine, I talked about a time in my life where I experienced anxiety and depression over getting a bunch of new furniture. I didn't understand that at the time because normal people would have been happy about new furniture, and the fact that I had negative emotions after it arrived confused me. I mean, especially since I was the one that picked everything out. I did eventually adjust to the change and came to like it, but that took a while. The anxiety of change hit me first, then the acceptance of them being a normal part of my life came sometime later. We tend to have delayed emotions for a lot of things, regardless of them being good or bad. Like when my mother passed away, I didn't cry until several weeks later. I was pretty much stoic for a while, which worried my husband a little. I think he thought I was stuffing my emotions down when really I didn't feel anything until I had fully processed it. Likewise, we could have someone give us something really awesome that we really wanted, but it could still take us several days or even weeks to process those positive emotions too. So, what is a take home from this part specifically? Well, that is to try to not take our immediate reaction to a gift you gave us personally. I really cannot express this one point enough. That first facial reaction you see on our face may look like disappointment, when in reality, it's probably just us processing all the information about this new object. We need time to acclimate to the new things in our lives. Full stop. I've oftentimes found myself raving about a gift my husband gave me days after I've received it, after I've had the opportunity to process my emotions about it. Because our body language can be confusing, I want to reassure you that if you are a safe place for us, we will tell you if we like something or not. When this happens, you can believe our feedback when we tell you we truly do like something, even if our face doesn't look like it, because we would feel safe to tell you if we didn't. But to be a safe place for us requires patience and understanding from you, and the ability to not take our responses personally. And one thing for all of us to keep in mind is that gift giving is not a selfless act. As an article by Anna Goldfarb in The Atlantic says, gift giving is about the buyer, not the receiver. Many of us want to feel like we're benevolent, yet we pay substantial attention to how the process of giving will make us feel about ourselves. So, once we can put our ego aside and realize it really is about the receiver, it becomes easier not to take things personally. And finally, let's examine the difficulty some autistics might face in giving gifts. And in order to do that, I have to explain how many of us feel about the concept of receiving gifts because our feelings on this matter has the ability to have external projections. Because many adults on the spectrum just don't care about getting gifts. Many of us might feel indifferent to it or even feel like it is a pointless exchange. I use my money to buy you a gift and you use your money to buy me a gift, but in reality, that money would probably be better utilized if we each bought an item for ourselves. I mean, we're both going to be spending that money anyway, why not get the maximum value out of it? This feeling gets even more weird if you're purchasing gifts from a joint account. Like, now I feel like I'm buying you stuff with your money and you're buying me stuff with my money. It feels like that pay it forward thing that people like to do in the Starbucks drive-thru, where we're all still doling out money, just not for ourselves, but for the person behind us. And let me tell you, as a person who buys a plain coffee every time, this exchange has never worked out in my favor. Look, I get it. It's not about the item itself. It's about experiencing that wonderful component of the human experience that is love and gratitude. And you're right. I am not trying to say it is about the item. I'm just trying to walk you through the logistical mindset an autistic person might have because it's important to understand. Emotions are contradictory to logic in most respects, so the warm fuzzies you're seeking may not be as tangible to an autistic person. Now, I'm not speaking for all autistics here either in saying that none of us ever want to receive gifts. If any of you out there decide not to buy a gift for the autistic person in your life because Jennifer said they all hate getting gifts, I will disavow you. What I'm trying to say is that receiving gifts may not be the preferred love language for a lot of us, and as a result, it can be difficult for us to imagine the importance you place on receiving them. And even if we do give you gifts, we might have trouble in knowing what you want. This could be in part due to struggling to understand social cues, which adds a layer of difficulty. Now, this isn't an area I personally struggle with, but many out there do, so I'm trying to be as inclusive as possible. Or we might not know what to get you because we are oftentimes so much in our own heads that we have deficits in thinking about the needs of others. But that is not because we don't care. I cannot stress this point enough. Monotropic thinking is not the same thing as being egocentric. If the people watching this video are anything like me, they actually think about their loved ones quite a bit, but that doesn't always organically translate on a communicative level or in them initiating shows of affection. Now, autistic gift giving can swing in the complete opposite direction too, because surprise, it's a spectrum, which means the autistic person in your life might give you a lot of gifts to show they care as a means to make up for what they lack in the social department. You might have an autistic parent or spouse that doesn't seem to readily show verbal or physical shows of affection in everyday life. Then it seems like they're being hypocritical or trying to buy your love with material objects instead. I know because my dad was really bad at this. But realizing that emotions and physical affection is difficult for some autistics and that this might be their way to show they care could help turn some of that resentment into understanding. And that's really important. I'm in a lot of mixed neurotype relationship groups online, and I can't tell you how many times I've seen relationships hurt by a lack of understanding surrounding these issues. So, how can you, as a neurotypical person, help that autistic person in your life with all of this? Well, here are some ideas to get a conversation started, but as always, this will be unique to the autistic individual in your life. Number 1, give them exactly what they ask for, because we can be very particular about items. I realize how this might make gift giving seem pointless to you now, because the point of giving a gift is to show someone how well you know them, how much you've thought about them, and how much effort you put into that surprise. Right? Well, in part, yes. but you might just have to let go of that notion when it comes to the autistic person in your life. And along these lines, it's a good idea to verify what they want closer to the date to ensure it's still relevant or wanted. Because sometimes we may vocalize wanting something, but that doesn't mean we've committed to the idea yet. Number 2. Consider giving them money or gift cards. I know this takes the personalization element out of it, but I think you can do this in a way that is still personal. You could tell them about what you wanted to get them down to the brass knuckles of shapes, colors, and sizes to show you did put a lot of thought into it. But then let them know you didn't want to get it wrong, so they can use that money to get what you wanted to get for them if you got it right, or for something else they might enjoy more. This gives them the element of control to reduce their anxiety. You can also give them a hand-painted card or poem with it. I myself can tell you that a handmade card or letter means more to me than the gift itself. Number 3, keep the receipt. Allow the autistic person to return or exchange the gift if they don't like it, and please, again, please, don't take it personally. Know that the autistic person might care about the value of your monetary resources too. Changing how you view this can help you realize that they want to make sure they get use out of your hard-earned dollars because they love and respect you. Number 4, say what you mean. If you want a gift, please say that. And if you say you don't want a gift, but you're still hoping you'll get one later, prepare to be disappointed. When you say you don't want anything, you better mean it, because there's a high likelihood we will take you at your word. In addition to this, if you do want a gift, it is oftentimes helpful for you to tell us exactly what you want. Please don't beat around the bush, drop vague hints, or expect us to know what you want. I can't tell you how many times I've heard,
"They would know what I wanted if they really loved me."
No. Our love for you does not equate to mind reading. I realize the importance of someone investing so much thought into getting you just the right gift. It shows they know you like the back of your hand, or that they're so spiritually in tune with you that they intuitively know just exactly what to get you. But you have to remember that autistics struggle with social cues and show their love in a different way. But that doesn't mean they don't love you. We want the opportunity to show you our love and respect just as much as you do for us. So, being direct is one of the most helpful ways to give us the opportunity to show you that. And finally, number 5, patience and understanding. Do not take our initial lackluster reactions as disappointment. We need time to process so the item can become familiar, comfortable, and routine. Please don't take it personally if we say we don't like the object, because that means we consider you safe. Allowing us to be honest about gifts will let you know we're telling the truth when we say we really do like something you gave us, even if our faces don't show it. And neurodivergence, we're not getting off the hook here either, because there's room for us to help the neurotypicals in our lives as well. We could start by making a shopping list, either on our phones or in an Amazon wish list, to have ideas at the ready when they come to us with that "what do you want" question. Since it might take you months to mentally commit to an idea, this will give you time to think these things through and have a concrete answer when asked. Secondly, recognize that the neurotypicals in our lives often want to give gifts, so we have to meet them halfway. It may feel pointless or unnecessary, but this is basically the importance of understanding others' love languages, even if it's not how we receive love. And along those lines, do give them gifts, even if it doesn't feel important to you. This is where it's important to open up those lines of communication so you can be direct with each other. Basically, all of the advice I had mentioned for NTs applies to us too. And being direct, honest, and compassionate with each other is paramount. So I'll close it out with this. I want to emphasize that yes, there is a ton of value in the act of gift giving, because it's a way for us to show we love and care for each other. We all have to keep that as the base and motivation for gift giving and receiving. regardless of how we feel about an item or how much weight we place on these exchanges in general. Someone showing they love or respect us is a valuable contribution to our emotional well-being, even if that contribution feels intangible. I know that sounds cheesy, but there's room for logic in understanding what we gain from love, friendship, and human connection. It really is the thought that counts. So I'll wrap it up there. See what I did there? If you have any stories about gift giving gone wrong, I'd love to hear from you. Or if you have any tips and tricks that have worked for you to navigate this in your own life, please share that with us in the comments below. Other than that, hopefully I'll see you in my next video. Bye for now. Mwah!